Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really interesting. How English, the language so many of us use, sounds and feels different in places like the US, the UK, and Australia. We've gathered a whole bunch of notes here looking at observations, comparisons, really digging into these main English varieties.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
And our goal today really is to unpack all of that, the sounds, the words, even the slang, so you feel much more confident understanding English speakers wherever they're from.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't about which English is right or wrong. Not at all.
Exactly.
It's more about appreciating how rich the language is, how it adapts. And, understanding these nuances helps avoid those awkward little miscommunications. Think of it like having a better map for navigating global conversations.
Great way to put it. Okay, let's unpack this then. Where should we start? Maybe with pronunciation. That's often the first thing you notice, right?
Absolutely. It's often the most immediate clue about where someone might be from. And the material we looked at points out some really key sound patterns.
Right. So one of the biggest ones mentioned is the R sound. In most American English, you clearly hear that R sound after a vowel.
Yeah.
Think of car or hard.
That rhotic R, you hear it. Car.
But then you listen to someone from, say, Southern England or often from Australia, and that final R, it just vanishes. Car becomes more like ka.
Non-rhotic. It's like the R is silent unless there's a vowel right after it.
And then there's the T sound. The notes pointed this out, especially how it works in American English, often between vowels.
Oh, the flapping T. Yeah.
Right. Like in better or water. It softens. Almost becomes a quick T sound. Better, waiter. You hear it in city too.
Whereas in the UK and Australia, that T tends to stay, sharper, more distinct. It's a clearer T.
It's subtle, but it's a real marker.
Definitely. A tiny sound that says a lot.
And vowels. Vowels shift all over the place. The notes mention words like dance or chance.
Yes.
In the US, it's usually that flat A, like in cadence.
But often in the UK, it's a longer ah sound. More like dance.
Australia.
Australia's interesting. You can kind of hear both, depending on the person, maybe the region, sometimes dense, sometimes dense.
It's amazing how those small sound changes really alter how a word feels, acoustically.
It really does.
And the best tip from the notes for getting used to this, just listen. A lot.
Yeah, exposure is key. Movies, TV, music, podcasts from all three places. Your brain just starts to pick up the patterns.
Your ear gets tuned in.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool.
Okay, moving on, maybe to vocabulary. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. It may be a bit confusing sometimes.
Yes. Potentially confusing, but also really fun. It gives you such a window into the daily life in each place.
Totally. Okay, common examples from the notes. What Americans call a truck.
It is usually a lorry in the UK, standard.
And Australia. Well, it could be a truck, but you also hear ute all the time, right?
Yeah.
Short for utility vehicle.
Yep. Classic ute. Has a whole cultural vibe to it.
Or where you live, an apartment in the US.
It's a flat in the UK.
And often a unit in Australia. Okay. The potato situation. This always gets people. American French fries.
Are chips in the UK and Australia? Hot chips specifically.
Yeah. But American chips, the crunchy things from a bag,
are crisps in the UK, but then in Australia, they're often just called chips too.
See? Confusing. So if I ask for chips in London, I get fries.
Correct.
Ask for chips in Sydney.
Could be either. You might need to clarify, or the context usually tells you. Bag snacks are chips, fried potatoes are chips. Context is everything there.
Okay. Sweater in the US.
Is a jumper in the UK and Australia. Easy one.
And the footwear one.
Yeah.
Flip-flops.
Yes. Famously called thongs in Australia. And you used to hear that in the UK too, though, maybe less common now.
Which is like the perfect example of why you need to know this stuff. Could lead to some awkward moments otherwise.
Definitely. The notes had good examples, like someone saying, I wore my jumper because it was chilly, or an Aussie saying, yeah, I drive a ute out on the property. Makes sense in context.
And then there's slang, a whole other layer.
Oh, yeah.
The notes mentioned typical American slang like awesome, dude, hang out.
And UK staples like mate, knackered, for tired, or saying you fancy something if you like it.
And Australia's got its own unique set. Arvo for afternoon is a big one.
Gotta know Arvo. And no worries as the default response to everything.
Yeah. And reckon for thing. I reckon it'll rain.
Exactly.
That Arvo one is great. You'd be totally lost without knowing that.
For sure. And, connecting this back, these word differences aren't just random quirks. They really reflect how life, history, even the environment shaped the language differently in each spot.
Language adapting, like you said.
Precisely.
Okay, what about spelling? That seems maybe a bit more straightforward, at least when you see it written down.
Yeah, spelling variations are usually easier to pin down than pronunciation or slang. More standardized, thankfully.
True. The notes listed the common ones. U.S. color without the U.
UK and Australia add the U color.
Verbs ending in cells in the U.S., like organize.
Become cells in the UK and Australia.
Organize.
Center with in the US.
Become center with in the UK and Australia.
And program versus program.
Right. U.S. usually just program. UK Australia often use program specifically for like a schedule of events or a TV show listing.
And it's interesting, the notes touch on why, Noah Webster in the U.S. deliberately simplifying spellings back in the day. It wasn't accidental.
Yeah, there's a history there. But the main takeaway from the source material is practical for your own writing, especially anything formal.
Just pick one.
Pick one style, usually American or British, and stick with it. Consistency is key. Don't stress about memorizing every single spelling difference unless you need to. Good advice. Okay, grammar. Now, the notes stress that most grammar is identical, right? Which is why we understand each other.
Absolutely. The core structure is the same, but there are these subtle stylistic differences in usage. Preferences, really.
Like the present perfect tense. The notes said UK and Aussie speakers often use it with words like just or already. I have just eaten.
Mm-hmm. That feels very natural in British English.
Whereas in the U.S., it's super common, totally fine, to just use the simple past, I just ate.
Right. Different grammatical structure preferred in that specific context.
And then there's got versus gotten.
Ah, yeah. Americans use gotten as the past participle of get. He's gotten taller.
But in the UK and Australia, he's just got. He's got taller. Using gotten sounds quite American to British or Australian ears.
It really does stand out.
And the last grammar point mentioned was collective nouns, words like team, government, family.
Right. In the UK and Australia, you often hear them treated as plural, taking a plural verb, especially if you're thinking of the individuals in the group.
Like, the team are playing well.
Exactly. While in the US, they're almost always treated as a single unit, singular verb. The team is playing well.
It's a subtle difference in perspective, isn't it? Group versus individuals.
It is. But what's key, and the notes emphasize this, is that everyone understands both forms. Communication doesn't break down.
Right. So the advice is just be consistent in your own speech or writing.
Exactly. Consistency just makes you sound more fluent.
Okay, so beyond the nuts and bolts of sounds, words, spelling, grammar, there's culture. And language is so tied up in that, especially with idioms and expressions.
Oh, definitely. Idioms are where language gets really colorful and tricky. They're like little cultural codes.
Because the literal meaning is usually nonsense. The notes gave some good examples. U.S., break a leg means good luck, right?
Yep. Or shoot the breeze for just chatting casually.
UK examples. It's not my cup of tea.
Meaning you don't really like it, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Or being over the moon means you're incredibly happy.
And Australia has some brilliant ones. Flat out like a lizard drinking.
Huh. Yes, meaning extremely busy. Working very hard.
And that classic Aussie attitude in, she'll be right.
Meaning it'll be okay, don't stress about it. Very laid back.
These phrases just capture a feeling, don't they? A cultural shortcut.
They really do. And the best advice from the notes on using them, listen first. A lot. Ask if you don't understand one. And maybe use them cautiously yourself until you're really sure you've got the hang of it.
Good call. Avoid putting your foot in it, as they say. Okay, so we've covered a lot. What does this all mean in practice? Let's try a quick quiz based on the notes. I'll say a sentence you listening can guess. US, UK, or Australia. Ready?
Okay, let's do it.
First one. Let's take the lift to the flat. Got it.
Lift, flat. Sounds pretty UK to me.
Yep. Classic UK English. Okay, next. I'm heading to the store to grab some chips.
Store, chips potentially meaning fries. That feels very US.
Correct. US English. How about, I reckon we'll go to the beach this Arvo.
I reckon. Arvo has to be Australia.
Definitely Aussie, packed with markers. Okay, grammar one. The team have won the match.
Team have. Plural verb with the collective noun. Could be UK or Australian.
Exactly. UK is on that one. And last one. I just ate.
Simple past instead of present perfect. That's the typical US preference.
Nailed it. That was fun. It really shows how those little clues add up, doesn't it?
It does. You start to hear the patterns.
So how many did you get right out there? Great job.
Yeah.
We've sort of journeyed through pronunciation quirks, vocabulary differences, spelling rules, grammar nuances, and those colorful idioms across the US, UK, and Australia, all drawing from this great collection of material.
And the final tips from the source material are really practical for anyone wanting to navigate this. Number one, listen. Yeah.
Movies, TV shows, podcasts, YouTubers from all three regions. Train that ear.
Absolutely essential. And for writing.
Pick a standard, usually British or American for formal stuff, and just be consistent. Don't flip-flop between organized and organized in the same document.
Good point. And approach all these differences with curiosity, not confusion or thinking one is wrong. They're just different facets of English.
Yeah, variations on a theme. And don't be afraid to ask people. If you meet someone with an accent you're placing, asking, "Oh, where are you from?" is often the best way to understand their particular flavor of English better.
Definitely. And thinking about all this, it raises a bigger question, doesn't it? With global media and travel, how are these varieties influencing each other now?
That's a fascinating thought. Are they blending? Becoming more similar? Or are new differences maybe popping up because of, I don't know, internet culture?
Exactly. Language is constantly evolving. It's not static.
It really isn't. Well, hopefully understanding these variations helps you feel more confident using English and connecting with people globally.
Yeah.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Keep your ears open today. Just listening to the English around you.
Yeah.
How many words or phrases might you hear that are maybe new to you or used in a slightly different way than you expected?